The Bitcoin halving is getting closer and closer by the second, with a little more than 250 days left until the halving, which will most likely be taking place on May 17th of 2020. The big question on everyone's mind right now is what the repercussions are going to be for the price of Bitcoin leading into the halving event, and what the price impact will be after the halving event. In this video, I'll be breaking down what we might be able to expect price-wise from the Bitcoin halving. So as you probably already know, the block reward that miners receive drops by 50% every 4 years, and that we are quickly approaching the third such event for Bitcoin, where the block reward will drop from 12.5 Bitcoin per block to 6.25 Bitcoin per block, another 50% reduction, bringing the annual inflation rate for Bitcoin down from around 3.74% to 1.8%. By that time, we will have also crossed over the 18 million out of 21 million Bitcoin mined mark, leaving only 3 million more Bitcoin to be mined in total. By 2032, the block reward halvings will bring the reward under 1 Bitcoin per block. Knowing that such a massive supply shock is inevitably coming, let me ask you, how patient can you be? How long-term can your thinking be? These events have historically had a great impact on Bitcoin's price by decreasing supply, while at the same time the demand has continued to increase for Bitcoin over time. And as we know, when demand increases for a rare asset, the price tends to follow. Due to its direct impact on the supply of Bitcoin, the block reward halving is one of the key fundamental factors that will continue to have a long-lasting impact on Bitcoin's price. So with that being said, I think one of the biggest questions that many people are asking themselves is this: is the Bitcoin halving already priced in? Well, the price of Bitcoin at the previous halving was around $650, which was a little over half of the previous peak of $1,150 and around 4x the previous low of around $150 after the lows of the 2015 bear market. Now, if the current cycle were to follow a similar pattern, then we might not even see Bitcoin cross over its previous all-time high before the halving. Can we really range in this zone for the next 6 months or so? Yeah, we can. It may just be what's happening. And I would kind of love that, to be honest. More Bitcoin at cheap prices. I love it. And if, and this is of course a big if history repeats, then we could see some more spikes up to 12 or 13 or 14,000, followed by some drops back down to 10 or 9,000. Historically, in the previous halving, we saw the price from November 2015 until May 2016 not really move all that significantly. During that time, Bitcoin had a rather tight price range between $350 and $450. Then about 6 weeks out from the halving, we had a nice price run up. We could see a similar situation happening here. Bitcoin's market cap previously formed a bottom approximately 1 to 1.5 years prior to the decrease in the block reward. The $3,000 bottom in December 2018 was about 18 months out from the halving. In the current cycle, we have moved from $20,000 down to $3,000, and we are currently around a little over 3x from the bottom. If we were to follow the pattern for 2016's halving, then we will likely stay in this zone for a while. The boringness of which will probably shake out loads of investors who will later say, gosh, if only I had bought Bitcoin at $10,000. Then in the immediate run up to the halving, we could actually see Bitcoin rocking up to $14,000, $15,000, $16,000, even $17,000. Outside of some big catalysts or simple irrational exuberance, the likelihood is that Bitcoin's price will remain relatively constant or continue to increase slightly in the lead up to the halving in May of 2020. But hey, It's Bitcoin. It could just as likely blast up to 25K next month. Nothing would surprise me. But this halving event is not exactly some big surprise that's coming. It is a regularly scheduled event. Looking back at the previous halving and the price action in the lead up to that halving, we could already be seeing Bitcoin priced in for the halving. Savvy investors, they were stacking sats early this year, or have been dollar cost averaging in over the year. The bottom was in, and the halving was close enough that investors started taking seriously the need to stack Satoshis while the prices were low. Still, though, the halving is far enough away that it is really up in the air whether or not the current price is a fair valuation for a pre-halving Bitcoin. Now, regardless of how much the price runs up in the lead up to the halving, the next big question on everyone's minds is, of course, will the halving event mean an immediate moonshot? Well, probably not. Previous halvings have resulted in large price bubbles 1 to 2 years after the event itself. After the previous halving in 2016, the market cap of Bitcoin increased rapidly, moving up from $650 to around $20,000 in the space of just 18 months. If we repeat this pattern, then it would seem to indicate that Bitcoin's price will increase dramatically between May 2020 and November 2021. But immediately post-halving, there may actually be a price drop, followed by a few months of kind of boring, low-action times. But if it only takes 18 months like last time, then we can expect our new insane price peaks sometime late 2021 or perhaps early to mid 2022. And if the models play out, then we are looking at a Bitcoin peak at a minimum of $60,000, and that is in the most bearish scenarios. Much more likely, though, is that Bitcoin solidly crosses the $100,000 mark, and that we might even move up to the $200,000 plus zone before the next major correction sets in. No one really knows, obviously, but the stock to flow model gives us Bitcoin at $100,000 around 18 months post-halving. But the previous peak was a few times more than the stock to flow price of Bitcoin back in 2017, which actually puts us on the upper ranges of predictions around $300,000 for the next bull run peak. In anticipation of those coming post-halving price highs, we have already had reports that miners have begun to hoard Bitcoin, assuming that they will be able to unload those coins at substantially higher prices than in the current market. With all of that being said, though, it is important to remember that, of course, the past does not determine the future, and the markets are significantly different this time around, and that this time may play out completely differently from the previous halvings, since fundamentally Bitcoin is bigger and stronger than ever, especially in terms of things like awareness and infrastructure, which has been built around the crypto industry, and particularly around Bitcoin. Bitcoin, for better or worse, is being talked about everywhere, all the time. Massive adoption keeps happening, with stories like Brazil rolling out 1.4 million point of sale devices which accept Bitcoin across the country. Japan Railways, the biggest rail service provider in Japan, is now accepting Bitcoin. The CME Group offering very popular futures markets which are seeing daily volumes in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The Intercontinental Exchange, the owners of the New York Stock Exchange and some major clearinghouses, is launching a payment processing service for Bitcoin. They're offering a custody service. They're bringing out a very highly anticipated futures market. Fidelity is actively training staff and pushing them to sell Bitcoin to their clients. And 100 other stories just like those. And if the current macroeconomic and geopolitical conditions continue along their current trends, with currency devaluations and trade wars and quantitative easing and inflation and banks on the verge of collapse and all that crazy stuff, bond markets are in trouble, then we may indeed be witnessing the forming of a perfect storm kind of scenario. In all likelihood, 2020 is going to be nuts for Bitcoin. 2021, it's probably a year that's going to change a lot of people's lives. Bitcoin is essentially at the start of the next major cycle. You've got to be in this for the long game. But you also have to be in the markets, so make sure that your crypto bags are packed and ready to go, because when the rocket ship takes off, it's not going to be coming back down here. Stack sats and chill and hodl strong. Very exciting time to be in Bitcoin. Let me know what you think about the Bitcoin halving. Are we already priced in for next year's halving? Are we going to see maybe some slight price increases as we go along? And what do you think post-halving? Is it going to take 18 months again in order to reach those new insane bull run crazy price highs? Hit me up down below in the comment section. I would love to know your opinion on that topic. Thank you so much, of course, as always, for watching today's video. You guys are totally freaking awesome, so thank you so much. And of course, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new around here, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell. You guys know the drill. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.